Okay, good evening, everyone, and welcome to our August 2024 Mayoral Town Hall. This is a part of our series that we do throughout the year. We usually host about 4 town halls on various topics outside of our borough council meetings to address the concerns. Just one moment, we're having a delay, and I can hear that. Okay, let's test again. I think we're good to go. Thank you, Billy, our communications coordinator, for handling a technical difficulty up front. But as I noted, this is one of our town halls in a series that we do throughout the year to address concerns with the public, educate on various topics. And in December, as always, we conclude the series with a redevelopment going on in Denellen, the where we were, where we are, and where we plan on going. And we'll be introducing our new community development director, Emily Link, who I actually see is online with us today at the redevelopment town hall. And so let's get started with today's. Some of the major responsibilities of any municipal government is to provide for the safety, security, and health of its residents. I, as mayor, together with the Denellen Borough Council, take these responsibilities very seriously. In order to fulfill these responsibilities, each municipality is required to appoint a coordinator of emergency management every 3 years. This person is delegated to the mission of protecting, preventing, responding, mitigating, and recovering from all hazards, both natural and man-made. This person coordinates the town's response to emergencies and disasters by utilizing existing resources and capabilities within the borough and bringing in other outside resources and capabilities from the county, state, and federal government if necessary. Another of the many ways in which the OEM coordinator fulfills their mission of protection is by preparing the residents to face these hazards through education programs and presentations such as the one being presented this evening. Homer Mosley Jr. is the Denellen Office of Emergency Management's OEM coordinator, a role he was appointed to in 2020 and reappointed to in 2023. He has a background in security management and brings extensive knowledge and experience in crisis situations and emergency preparedness. Under Homer's leadership, the Denellen OEM has grown exponentially with the most volunteers in the history of the department. As the OEM coordinator, he is responsible for communicating with the borough's different departments, including the administration, police, fire, and rescue, as well as state and federal agencies to ensure continued operation during disasters. Homer also helped establish the Denellen Community Emergency Response Team, commonly known as CERTS, which trains volunteer emergency responders who step into action when our community is in need. Through his role in Denellen OEM and Denellen CERT, Homer is deeply committed to ensuring the borough's preparedness for storm events and other emergencies. And in the following presentation, you'll learn not only how to prepare for disasters, but what to do after disaster strikes. Now that's the scripted lines. What I'm going to say really quick about our good friend Homer Mosley is that since 2020, he really and truly has built the OEM department from nothing into what is now considered, and this is what Middlesex County tells us, one of the model OEMs in the county. So he's worked his butt off to make sure that we have a really great team, a sustainable team, and one that's going to last into the future with his volunteers. He was also one of my right-hand guys during COVID, and I don't know as mayor if I was be able to make it through if it wasn't for Homer and others like Alex Miller, who is with us this evening as the business administrator. So as mayor during a difficult time, I'm indebted to someone like Homer, who really was there throughout the entire process, not for me, but for the town. So thank you, Homer. And now it's my honor to welcome our OEM coordinator and my good friend, Homer Mosley.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, for that very nice welcome. And I'm so gratified that the borough has taken this opportunity to bring this subject forward, which is very serious. We are what you call in gray skies. Usually we talk about blue skies in which there's nothing going on. You know, that means that we're absent any storm. The reason why we're in gray skies is because we are in hurricane season, and thus this topic is very relevant. Okay. Stand by, please. Okay, I'll go back. Little technical difficulty here. Let me. Okay. Great. So here are the hazards and threats to be considered now. Okay, tornadoes, hurricanes, extreme winds, floods and flash floods, severe thunderstorms, high winds, excessive heat, and power outage. I just like to tell you that anytime you have any sort of storm, a thunderstorm, you have the potential of a tornado. And with changing weather conditions, we are finding out that the tornado alley is slowly moving towards the east. And so be aware of that. Other than that, excessive heat is also a problem. More people die from heat-related illnesses in any other weather related condition. Also, people may not realize when you have a storm, a lot of folks have lost their lives due to lightning. So again, anytime you get a warning about these conditions, you should take cover and do the things that we're going to be talking about tonight. Now, there are ways that you prepare before a disaster happens. Number one is sign up for alerts and warning. The borough has a system called e-Notify, in which you can sign up for, and you will receive a text or an email regarding the conditions of the town, whether or not it be weather related, or it could be something like a road closure. So you should be aware of that. What happens is if you get this notification, you click on a link which brings you to the borough's website, and there it will explain exactly why you've been notified. Next thing you should do is make a plan. Make a plan for your family and your friends in terms of what you're going to do in certain situations. You also should save for a rainy day. If you recall, during Ida or during Floyd, if you remember that some of the ATMs weren't working, therefore you should have some cash on hand to buy necessities. You need to practice emergency drills. For example, do you know where to meet if you have to evacuate your home from a fire? You should have a plan saying, okay, everybody, meet at the big tree across the street. And the reason why that's important, there's been instances whereas when a home was evacuated and the kids evacuated a home and they went off to play with their friends, and mom and dad didn't know where they were. So what happened was mom and dad ventures back into the house, and then they themselves become the victim of the fire. So you should practice emergency drills and test a family communication plan. That even goes for the fact that if there's a local situation, whereas people have to evacuate the town, for example, people should know where you're going. And so you should test a family communication plan. Also, you should safeguard important documents. By this, I mean, you may want to have your deed, you may want to have some of your medical records, your insurance papers in a waterproof container so that you can take that with you in case you have to evacuate suddenly. Also plan with your neighbors. You know, we have senior citizens that may need some assistance. So you should actually talk to your neighbors about your emergency plan. Make sure that they have one and be ready to assist them if necessary. You also can make your home safer. For example, if you use a generator, for example, okay, you do not want to use a generator in your garage or right outside your window because of carbon monoxide poisoning. You may, for example, if you come from an elderly environment, you may not want to have rugs in which people can slip on in terms of trying to make a fast evacuation. So try to make your home safer. Make sure you have smoke detectors, CO detectors um, installed on every floor of your home. Also, know your evacuation routes. Okay, it's not time for you to discover how you're going to evacuate from a given area at the time of the disaster. You should really know how to leave town. And also, it's very important that you listen to the instructions of your first responders, such as the police or the fire. Again, you might want to assemble or update supplies in your house. There may be a time in which we're going to require you to shelter in place. Do you have enough food and water to do that? And if you have to evacuate, do you have what you call a go kit ready to leave with you? Get involved with your community, okay? Denellen has about 7,600 people. We have quite a number of senior citizens as well. And guess what? We're known as the volunteer town. We're known as the Miracle Mile. And so we want you to get involved with your community to assist with that. And we're going to tell you how to do that later on in the presentation. Again, make sure you insure your property. Okay. For example, I have flood insurance. My neighbors to my left and right don't have flood insurance. I kept my flood insurance. I'm grandfathered in. And so my flood insurance doesn't cost as much as everybody else because of the period of time in which I've been enrolled. And let me tell you something, it came in handy when we had Ida. What happened was my basement got flooded out. I lost the contents of my furniture, my big screen TV, and my record collection. And FEMA was able to step in and help me to recover from some of that loss. So make sure that you are properly insured. Every year you should really review your property insurance because things might have changed and you want to make sure that you have adequate coverage. Okay, so let's talk about some specific things you need to do in terms of certain hazards. Surviving a hurricane before and after. One of the most important things that you do is monitor the weather and current emergency information instructions. As I said to you before, when you sign up for e-Notify, not only are you going to be notified about road closures and other important information, but you may receive instructions from your municipality in terms of what to do in those situations. And watch out for heavy rain that can lead to flash flooding. Years ago, I was involved in a flash flooding incident. I was in Plainfield, and I saw the waves of water coming towards the car. I immediately rode up on somebody's lawn, and I spent the next, I'd say, 10 hours at a very generous neighbor who allowed me to take refuge in his house. And of course, after the flood water subsided, I was able to drive my car home. So be aware of flash flooding. It could come out anytime. Watch out for heavy winds, flying debris, falling tree limbs, and electrical wires, okay? If safe, as I told you before, shelter in place. In a small interior windowless room on the safest level, not the attic. The reason why you don't want to go to the attic because you could get trapped there with rising flood waters. So you do not want to go to the attic. Again, we always talked about know your evacuation route and community shelter locations. In Denellen right now, one of our named shelters is the high school. Okay, we are looking into other shelters as well. So if you have to evacuate, be ready to do that if instructed to do so. Again, a little bit more about surviving a hurricane before and after. Absolutely do not walk, swim, drive, or wade through floodwaters. Why? Could be some snakes there. Could be some danger. It could be some dangerous debris, and could be electrically charged. If there is a down wire and you don't see it, okay, you can actually become a casualty. So again, I just like to point out to you that when we did have Ida, we had to open up a shelter at the St. John's Catholic Church. We took in 22 human beings, 2 cats and 2 dogs. Okay, and these were water rescues because people decided to drive their vehicles through floodwaters and they got stuck. The other ones, of course, had no choice because of the pressure of the water had collapsed their foundations in their house. So again, just be aware of that. Do not touch wet electrical equipment. If safe, turn off the electricity at the main breaker or fuse box, okay? One of the things I learned too was the fact that you should not, you should not use your landlines because electrical currents can travel through your landlines. Do not use water in terms of a electrical storm because actually electricity can be carried through your piping. So again, people don't think about that. They think that they're safe indoors. Well, you're not safe indoors if you're taking a shower during an electrical storm or you're on your landline. We already talked about use generators outside, outdoors, and away from windows. When cleaning up, you want to use some protective clothing. Why? Again, because of contamination. You know, there may be a little bit of standing water. And also, I'm talking within your house. And also, you know, there could be some metal objects. You don't want to be cut or have a skin abrasion, which of course, a skin abrasion in some dirty water can lead to an infection. So use some protective clothing and work with someone so that somebody will be there to make sure that they have your back. Okay, and save your phone calls for emergencies. As you know, the police department, fire department, EMS are going to be undulated with calls. So try to reserve your calls for emergency. Don't be on the phone just talking sociably. Instead, use text and social media to communicate with family and friends. Again, we already talked about have property and flood insurance. Document property damage with photographs. It's a good idea for you to take photographs of your property now, and then in the event that property is damaged or lost, you can take photographs of that to show the insurance company. Surviving a tornado before and after. Again, we already talked about pay attention to weather reports, alerts, and warning. And we do have a couple of good systems in town, and we're trying to improve in terms of getting that information to you. We have a communication officer now, communication specialist, as well as on my staff, we have Autumn of Barbados, who also is working with Bill George to make sure that the information gets out to our residents. Also, Mr. Miller also sends out, at this point in time, he also sends out alerts and warning. Knows the signs of a tornado. It's a funnel-shaped cloud, as we all know, approaching debris cloud, and it has freight train sounds, okay? Go to a safe room, a basement, or a storm cellar. Okay, again, if you could get to the middle of your home, you want to be away from windows so that you don't have any broken glass flying at you. Do not try to outrun a tornado in a vehicle, okay? It can run faster than you, okay? A lot of people intuitively think that you should seek shelter under an overbridge or overpass or bridge. Do not do that. Believe it or not, you're more safer on flat ground than you are underneath a bridge when a tornado strikes. What you have to do is cover your head and your neck and bore into a position, okay? But you do not want to go underneath the bridge. If you're in a car or outdoors and can't get to a building, cover your neck and head with your arms. If trapped, cover your mouth with a cloth or mask to avoid breathing dust. Do not enter damaged buildings until you are told that they are safe, okay? And of course, again, stay clear of falling power lines or broken utility lines. Survive in a thunderstorm, lightning, or hail. Go indoors when thunder roars. Okay, that's a good little saying. Go indoors when thunder roars. It could be a car or a solid building. Now, if you do go into a car, do not touch the metal surfaces, okay? Because again, that may be a source of electrocution. Again, heat alerts and warning. Unplug appliances, okay? You should try to unplug appliances, especially in terms of lightning. Do not use landline phones. We talked about that, and avoid running water. Electricity can travel through pipes and phone lines. Now, here's one that, this should be common sense. Cut down or trim dangerous tree limbs, which can fall on your home. Okay, so that's very important. We already talked about watch out for power lines and report immediately. And also, for those of you that have a deck, secure your outdoor furniture, okay? Because that can become flying objects. Now, preparation for extreme heat. As you know, we have had several episodes of extreme heat this season. So, if possible, seek air conditioning. That could be our library, shopping malls, community cooling centers. And again, our library has served as a cooling center. So make sure that you try to seek that condition. Avoid strenuous activity. Of course, you should not be running or jogging or doing anything in extreme heat. Wear light clothing. And this is important again, check on family members and neighbors, especially the elderly, the disabled, and special needs population. Drink plenty of fluids, and never leave people or pets in a closed car, okay, in terms of extreme heat. Keep your home cool by using drapes, shades, insulation, weather stripping, attic fan. And learn the signs of heat illness and how to administer first aid. Now, let's talk to you. This is generally in terms of if you have to prepare a disaster supply kit, okay, in terms of food and water. You should have 1 gallon of water per person per day for 3 days. Change the water every 6 months. So for those of you that may use bottled water, you really should change that water every 6 months. Have enough food to last each family member at least for 3 days. So 3 days is sort of like, keep that in mind, 3 days. You want to use canned or boxed food, okay? Food that can be preserved in those sort of containers. You want to have a manual can opener. Why? Because remember, the electricity may not work. Sealed metal or plastic containers for storage. Include food for infants and family members with special diets. Because sometimes we may say, in our haste, we gather food items, but we forgot about our infants and our family members. And of course, we replace foods every 6 months. One of the things I did was I brought, especially during COVID, I brought extra metal shelving, and I went out and I brought a lot of canned goods and pasta and things of that nature. Okay, and now, of course, I have used that over time because again, I want to get my money's worth. I don't want to go perishable, but yeah. So replace foods every 6 months. Okay, in terms of equipment, okay, make sure you have a battery power radio and flashlights. Make sure you have spare batteries for those items. Resealable plastic bags, washcloths and towels, paper cups, plates, and plastic utensils. Okay, because remember that dishwasher is not going to be working. Toothbrushes, toothpaste, shampoo, deodorant, and other toiletries. You should have some change of clothing, an extra pair of shoes and socks for each person, a blanket or a sleeping bag for each person, and make sure you have a first aid kit. Now, we also, it's very important that you have personal identification. We talked about having your important papers in a waterproof container. You should have copies of your birth and marriage certificate. Because again, if your home is completely destroyed, okay, and if you kept those documents within your home, unless you have a fireproof safe that's highly rated, you're going to lose those documents. So you should have inventory of household goods. Remember, I talked about taking the pictures. That may be a good container to have those pictures in. Bank account numbers and other important documents. You should have maps, Esther card, and house keys. I mean, how many people think about that? You should have Esther card, house key, and of course, prescription medications, and enough to last over a given period of time. Now, you know what? We can't forget about our little fuzzy friends, right? Our animals, okay? So again, remember 3 days? We should have enough food and water for 3 days for our pets. Don't forget about their medicines, extra supply in waterproof containers, and medical records. Especially make sure that you have documents indicating that they have been properly vaccinated. If you go into a shelter, okay, and we're doing co-location shelters, which means that we take our pets with us. They'll be in a separate area because people may have allergies, okay, but we need to make sure that when you register to go into one of these shelters, that you have the proper medical records showing that that animal has been vaccinated. You should have the pet first aid kits, and you could ask your vet about what that is. A collar with ID tag. Again, we talked about rabies, a harness, and a leash. Important document, pet registration and vaccination records, a crate or other pet carrier. Now, we recommend a crate because a crate is portable. A pet carrier, a crate is very heavy. So you should have that to transport your pet, because we may not be able to supply you with that at the shelter. So make sure you go out and purchase a pet carrier. Sanitation supplies, litter and litter box, newspapers, paper towels, and plastic bags. A picture of you and your pet with detailed description of your pet. That's very important in case your pet gets lost. How are you going to identify that pet? And familiar items, okay, to the pet, because pets get stressed out like people in terms of disaster. So you should have their favorite toy, their treat, and bedding, because that reduces pet stress. Now, how can you get more information about emergency preparedness? How can you better prepare yourself? And I'd like to talk to you very briefly about our CERT program. We'd like to say that CERT training is for everybody. It's free of charge. It's usually it's 28 hours, and you at the end of that training, you receive a certificate saying that you're CERT trained. That doesn't mean you have to join the CERT team, but what it would enable us to do is it will enable us to, let's say, in terms of first responders, to direct our attention to other major areas. So CERT, we also like to say that CERT is to help until help arise. So just a sec, please. Sorry about that. So CERT members are to help arrive. You could be able to help your friends and neighbors before the police can get to you. We automatically think that when we have an emergency, that the first responders are going to get to us. They may not be able to get to us right away. And so what do you do in the meantime? So if you have this education, you'll be able to deal with a lot of emergencies. Number one, it trains people to be better prepared to respond to emergencies. Number two, help with non-emergency projects that improve the safety of the community. Present and distribute preparedness materials at community events like we're doing tonight. Assist the first responder with safety duties at parades, fairs, and events. They can act as a volunteer pool to staff OEM functions. They can provide support to first responders during emergencies, can provide immediate assistance to victims, and may organize spontaneous volunteers at a disaster site. This is a list of the CERT course agenda and topics. Unit 1 is disaster preparedness. Unit 2, the CERT organization. Unit 3 and 4 deals with disaster medical operations. So we teach you some basic first aid techniques. Unit 5 is disaster psychology. Now you wonder what that's about. Basically, you know, people who have possibly lost a loved one, lost their property, are in distress. And we actually teach you how to help those folks get through some of that at that time. So we talk about disaster psychology. Also, you know, we also talked about disaster psychology because as CERT volunteers and as emergency first responders know, they get stressed out too. And they have to do some self-care. So we actually teach self-care. So you may automatically think, well, they're trained to do this and trained to do that. I was a police officer for 4.5 years. And let me tell you that things that have impacted, some of the things I've seen really impacted me psychologically, such as somebody diving into off the platform into a train, or a young person laying on the ground with a bullet hole in his head. So again, first responders experience a lot of trauma as well. So we teach disaster psychology. Unit 6 talks about fire safety and utility controls. We actually teach people how to properly use a fire extinguisher. It's not just point and shoot. There's a technique in terms of putting out fires. Unit 7 talks about life search and rescue operations. And basically, we don't teach you about, let's say, going around town looking for a missing person, but in the event there is a structure collapse, we teach you how to do life search and rescue. We teach you about cribbing. And cribbing is a technique whereby you extricate a person from, let's say, under debris. We teach you the proper, how to do that properly. And then Unit 8, we talk about CERT and terrorism. Unit 9, there's a course review, a final exam, and a disaster simulation. Okay, so again, this training is free of charge. It's for everyone. And then after the training, if you decide that you want to become a part of the CERT team, you're vetted and you receive additional training. Now, before we have question and answer, I'd like to bring up my, my Director of Community Engagement, Autumn Barbado, to talk about a program that we're going to do. Autumn?
I'll repeat it, the council member saw East Lance is in the audience.
Okay. Yes. I'd like to acknowledge the fact that in our audience this evening is Councilwoman Lance, of course, Mayor Lento, Alex Miller, Bill George, who is our communication director, and also one of my CERT members and OEM, Chuck Lopez. Okay, Autumn.
Hello, everyone. Thank you, Homer. I just want to mention a little bit about our monthly Safety Saturdays program. We've been running these sessions virtually for the first half of the year, essentially. And typically, we've been sort of test driving doing that during the winter months. But during the warmer months, we really like to be able to connect with our community face to face. So we've been on hiatus over the last couple of months during the summer, but our Safety Saturday sessions will be resuming the third week of September, namely September 21st. And we'll be holding a session on pet preparedness. Homer mentioned a few specifics related to that as part of his talk, but we're going to do a little bit of a deeper dive. And these Safety Saturday sessions are just that, an opportunity for us to sort of delve into a specific topic and to engage our audience, ask questions, get feedback, and have some significant interaction about information that's critical and relevant to preparedness. So yeah, I just wanted to mention that that's coming up on the 21st. We're looking to do these the third Saturday of the month, heading into the end of the year, and we'll be publicizing more information. You can find out about those on our Facebook pages, on Nextdoor, on our YouTube channel. And you can actually register for this upcoming session either live at the library directly or online via our social media channels. So we look forward to seeing you and engaging with you at our Safety Saturday sessions.
Thank you, Autumn. Is there any questions from the audience regarding what you heard tonight? Yes, Mayor Salento.
If I miss it, I would want to get a hold of you. In terms of contact.
Okay, well, again, they can contact me through email. H Mosley, HOHMOSLEY at denellenborough.com.
Is there a section on the website dedicated to OEM certs?
That's correct, yes.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay, well, thank you for your participation, and I hope that you learned something that will make you more resilient and prepare you for any hazards that we may face.